Plaintiff Charlotte Vallis claims the defendant is the mother of her 9-year-old grandson. And Charlotte's always been there to protect her grandson because the defendant has been a drug addict for years. In fact, the defendant's son was taken away from her due to her drug use. And Charlotte's suing her today for stolen money. Defendant Molly Mead admits she was addicted to crystal meth for 7 years, but she insists she's been clean and sober for 15 months, and she's trying to get her life back on track. Molly denies stealing money from Charlotte, and she's countersuing her for harassment.
Start with you.
Sir, Molly is the mother of my 9-year-old grandson that I adore and love extremely. I've always been there to protect him and to take care of all his needs that weren't taken care of by both of his parents. And
did he live with his parents?
Off and on, he's lived with his parents throughout the 9 years. At this time, he's in custody. My son has custody of him at this time.
What was the problem with his parents?
His parents have a drug issue.
Okay, that's understandable. A lot of the problems we have now with young people is they were born to parents who were drug addicted, particularly parents that are on crack or heroin in the 80s. And so we're suffering from those consequences. So you're sounding like that may have been the case had you not stepped in.
Absolutely. Good. And I've always been the protector of him and been there when there's been a problem with either one of the parents, stepped in, taken care of his needs, whether it was food, clothing. And Molly's been a long-time drug user, and she's been picked up off the streets for it.
Let me allow her to address these allegations. Ma'am, you want to say anything about this, the background? Or?
Yes, Your Honor, I want to start giving you a background.
Sure.
I have been, in the past, addicted to drugs for 7 years.
What type?
And speed.
Not crystal meth?
That is same.
Okay, well, no, you're putting it nicely. When you refer to speed, that sounds a little cuter than crystal meth.
Methamphetamine?
Yeah. All right.
Well, it's not cute. There's nothing cute.
There's certain type of speeds that aren't crystal meth. I know that. For example, people take diet pills, at least they did in the 70s when I was coming around. Big difference. Go ahead.
And today I'm 15 months clean and sober.
Good. Congratulations.
I have numerous certificates about drug.
You have them with you?
Yes, I do.
Good. That's what I like to hear. How long were you in rehab?
I did a 6-month inpatient and outpatient.
Yeah. And that's about what it takes.
I did parenting classes. Here's a couple more certificates that go with that.
Let's see it. Parenting classes, drug and alcohol. Excellent. Good to hear that.
I'm a full-time student today.
Where?
And I'm just trying to make my life.
Where?
I go to Cypress College in Orange County.
Good. All right.
And just trying
That's great to hear.
Change my ways.
All right. Well, let's see what she's saying you stole from her. Go ahead.
Well, in 2002, my grandson was taken from her by the state of California. And that's where a lot of my big concerns came from.
So what are you suing her for today?
What am I suing her for? In 2005, I opened up an account for her and I, because I was on
joint account?
It was a savings account.
A joint savings account?
Yes, sir. And
was she getting high with y'all?
Not with me.
I should have been.
You must have. How would you sit here and tell me that you had to take care of their baby? They were so strung out on drugs. And then you go and put her name on your bank account. Please explain that.
I did not know what kind of drugs were involved at the time.
You knew there was drugs so much so that they couldn't take care of the child?
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. But the reason I put an account on her and my name was because I was out of town a lot traveling. And in order to protect my grandson and make sure that he had the food and everything, I gave her $150 a month allotment through that account. From February when I opened up the account, and then in November is when there started becoming problems with the account. In November, she took out $820 over what she was allotted. And then in December, she took $46.05.
And what did you say to her?
I'm like, what is going on here? She goes, well, I'm just having some problems. I'll pay you back. I promise I'll pay you back the money.
No. What problems did she tell you? She'd have to tell me more.
She didn't tell me what the problems were or anything. I just assumed what it was.
Oh, okay. You knew it was drugs.
I pretty much at that point was like, okay, we have an issue with this. And that's when I closed the account immediately as soon as I heard about it. Because on my bank statements, it shows all the money coming out. And it also shows at the times where I was also out of town. Because I use my ATM a lot. So she was taking advantage of the fact that I was out of town. I didn't have immediate access to my bank account.
I didn't know where she was.
Well, ma'am, a couple of things. I'm sure you know that just because you get clean, that doesn't do away with all the damage you've done. You know, that's one of the things that disappoints me so much about folks who are in recovery. They expect you to jump up and down and be so overwhelmingly happy for your recovery, and your family should be, and they are. However, folks still remember what you did to them. They still remember that you neglected your child so much so that the child's going to have lasting problems. So that damage you did doesn't go away. So I want to hear your story about, one, what happened, and two, if you were wrong, how do you think this damage should be dealt with? Go ahead.
Okay, what happened was I wrongfully put in a check into that account. I put the check in. I pulled out $500 and I went to jail for this. I believe I have a statement from her bank saying that if fraudulent activity happens on this account, she will be reimbursed.
Okay.
So I want to know if she was already reimbursed and if she's just trying to get more money because she needs to pay her mortgage or something crazy because she's like that.
Ma'am?
I have the bank statements and the copies of the checks that were put through my account.
And how will I know?
And these are all highlighted. These are withdrawn, and they were out of the city of Riverside, the city where she was living at the time.
Okay.
And then
where were you living?
Anaheim. I've lived there for 11 years.
Okay. Ma'am? You know anything about these withdrawals in Riverside?
Yes, I do. I had a job, and I worked for an older woman. Her name was on the checks. I have a letter.
Hold on. What you're telling me is you can show me deposits?
Yes.
And the amount of those checks were the only amounts that you withdrew without her permission?
No.
No.
How much did you withdraw without her permission?
I withdrew $500 without her permission.
Okay, so you can't explain why there were all these withdrawals in Riverside, where you happen to live.
I can explain. I did withdraw. I did, but wrongfully.
Ma'am, your judgment is $5,000. Your counterclaim, ma'am, for harassment. What did she do to you?
She's made my life a living hell.
How?
She's verbally abusive.
How?
She's gotten
Tell
a
me. Give me
restraining order.
examples, ma'am.
Okay. I was pregnant with her grandson, and she pushes me out of her house, tries to run me over with her motorcycle.
When?
I have a letter.
When?
2000.
All right. Statute of limitations prohibits you from charging or for suing her for something that happened in 2000. Your harassment claim is dismissed. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff.